One of my favorite things about Mass Effect 1 is that you can actually walk around inside the council chamber, and it's actually a pretty area, but it's also a battleground. And yeah, it's later in the story when you actually fight anything here. But it occurs to me that in Mass Effects 2 and 3, the places you fight and the places you talk are always different places, unless there's like one short conversation in the middle of a combat mission or something.
It gives a different sense to the area that you're walking around in, for sure.
What Shepard? What is up with your eyes?
Oh, God.
I bet all these staircases aren't just for show. They make for good defensive. Foreshadowing. I see what you did there, Ash.
Hey, you guys were talking about how Mass Effect 2 and 3 are better received as games, but you guys reflected on how Mass Effect 1 was a little more, I guess ambitious would be the word. Does a part of you guys as Mass Effect fans miss that heading into 2 and 3?
Yes.
A little bit.
I don't even have to think about it. Yes, I miss that. I kind of wish that Mass Effect 2 and 3 had not overcorrected as much as they did. Because that's really, with Mass Effect 2 in particular, overcorrection. Basically, the complete obliteration of the inventory system and weapon upgrade system instead of, streaming it down a little bit, which is all it really needed. And general stuff like that. It makes Mass Effect 2 seem a lot shallower, even though in some ways Mass Effect 2 is definitely better to play.
Better to play being the emphasis.
Yeah, like when I start a marathon of the Mass Effect series, it's 2 I start with. It's a really fun game, but it lacks in places. Very noticeable places if you played the first game. These things are called keepers. They're basically mindless automatons, biological automatons, that run the Citadel. Now, this is something that makes me laugh about the Citadel species. They found this giant space station run by these bug things. Any attempt to disrupt the bug things from keeping the space station running has always resulted in them self-destructing, and they can't figure out what the bug things are. So eventually they decide, we'll just let the keepers keep running the space station. We don't have to know anything about how the seat of our galactic power base works. No, let's
as long as it works.
as long.
They'll
This-
put
this
warning
end up-
signs around them, like at least don't fuck with them or suffer explosion.
Now, what happens when the keepers are disrupted is they self-destruct, and then whenever a keeper dies, another one just replaces it. No one has any idea where they come from, how they reproduce.
Alright, then these things are the true final boss of this universe. You realize that.
And they don't mind that everybody's living in their
John?
house.
You're not correct, but you're not far off.
Oh, god damn it.
Well, he's technically not wrong.
Any particular reason there are so many keepers in this area?
Oh, man.
Yeah, but so do they not care that everybody's in their house eating all their food, or
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're not using this planet, right?
We'll find out what the keepers are for later on in the game, like at the very end of the game, but it's why they're there.
Don't question it.
Yeah. There actually is a side quest that I didn't pick up on my way out of the thing because I wanted to save it for later. It's a bit tedious to go through, where a scientist has developed a scanning tool that allows them to scan the keepers without disrupting them, and you help them do that. There are 21 keepers in all scattered throughout the places in the Citadel that you can explore, and everyone you scan gets you a bit of money and some experience. So, while you're walking around the town, take note of every keeper you see and try to remember its location, because once you get that scanner, you're going to have to go back and get every last one of them.
someone has business with the council.
Trying to remember what drug I was on when I decided to record all the Avena conversations.
I was gonna say, this isn't a side quest. We don't need to talk to her.
It's Mass Effect. I never felt so alive.
Oh, my master's
right,
so
now-
wrecked from this.
Now I remember, actually. Now I remember. I wanted to call attention to two things. The two monuments that you can find in this area, which Avena talks to you about. The first one is that giant mass relay statue in the background, which I could call better attention to if it were on camera, but I think I missed the point where Avena talked about it. One of the interesting things about that is if you walk past it with Kaid in your party, he makes a remark that to the effect that his teeth are humming.
Tell me more about
Kaiden is a biotic, so
Wait, his what are humming?
his teeth are humming.
His teeth are humming?
Yeah, like the air is charged or something. Like there's an
Oh, like electrical buzz. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a musical humming.
Yeah.
Like,
So no, not like that. So like, and yeah, I didn't miss it. She just highlighted it. Good. The thing about that is, it hints that there's something inside the statue that's powered on. Might be somewhat important, or it might be a red herring. I don't know. What could a giant mass relay statue in the middle of the galactic seat of power possibly be?
Popcorn maker.
I'm sure it has absolutely nothing devious going on about it at all, and that it's completely safe, and
Ah, yeah,
you
there
should
we
just
go.
not worry
Yeah,
about
he says
it.
he hears a low hum, and it makes his teeth tingle.
You may want to go to the dentist if your teeth are that sensitive.
But Kaiden does have his own problems. He was outfitted with an older generation of biotic implants, and the L2s. Well, there's a side quest relating to this later on, and I think I did include it in this playthrough, where the biotics who were outfitted with that particular thing, that particular implant, suffered severe side effects, and Kaiden, well, he lucked out because he just suffers occasional migraines, but some people had serious brain problems after that. Humans got a bit grabby when it came to biotic power. They saw the biotics that humanity had managed to cultivate, accidental or otherwise, as a ticket to increasing their own galactic status. Anyway, Bar Levon is our first contact with a character who's going to be pretty important in the second game, or at least pretty important in one of the second game's DLCs, the Shadow Broker, who is basically this mysterious info broker who no one knows who it is, who has basically had the largest information network empires for the last, I don't know, however many hundred years.
Shadow Broker is a broker of information that lives in the shadows.
Yeah, more or less.
He's basically Mass Effect's Jabba the Hutt.
Is he as gross as Jabba the Hutt?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
And then we actually see him, and it is, model to model Jabba the Hutt.
Pizza the Hut.
Actually, the cool thing about the Shadow Broker, and one of the reasons that the Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC is so amazing, is that the Shadow Broker is a species of alien that you don't ever see up until that point in the series. And there's a really well thought out reason for why.
Very. However, I doubt the visit was entirely his.
So not only do you get a resolution to the Shadow Broker as a story element, it actually introduces a new piece of Mass Effect lore in the same stroke, which I found pretty goddamn ingenious.
I do kind of wish it wasn't DLC, though, because, they mention the Shadow Broker so often in 1 and 2 that, you kind of hoped you would run into him in the main campaign, but...
I'm on the fence about that, because since it was DLC, they really went all out, and they took criticisms against the main game to heart when they made Lair of the Shadow Broker. Which is another reason why that DLC is so good, because overall, that part of that mission set is noticeably better than the rest of the game.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
fun.
feels like an actual expansion and not just something that you can get on the cheap for $4.99.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was. If I had to guess, it wasn't something that they had like day one for most DLC. It's probably something
Oh,
they made
no.
after
Lair
the
of
game
the
was
Shadow
done.
Broker came like a year or two later.
You don't see that with games anymore. Well, I mean, Smash Brothers, I guess, but
Well, to be fair, Mass Effect 2 had its share of Day 1 DLC.
okay.
It had a lot of Day 1 DLC, actually. Weapon packs, mission packs.
Characters.
Yeah, two
Jesus Christ.
two DLC characters with loyalty missions, and also yeah, well, it was a bunch of stuff. I can't really recall it all at the top of my head. But Lair of the Shadow Broker was different, and it also reintroduced a move to the game that was cut from Mass Effect 2 from after 1, and they retooled it to fit the new gameplay style, and it became one of my favorite moves in the game. That move is Stasis, which I used as my extra skill in this game too.
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're still, for lack of a better word, in the infancy stages of DLC, but I still just have a stigma against it in general that the content, no matter how late in development it was made, that it doesn't feel as fleshed out or as expansive as the actual in-game content. There are exceptions.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I will gladly, wholeheartedly defend Arkham Knight's Season of Infamy DLC, which feels legitimately like a missing part of the story that the game lacked.
Thought you'd know more about
Oh, okay, I was gonna say,
Like-
there's a lot of Arkham Knight DLC that sucks.
Yeah, but the Season of Infamy I will gladly defend because it feels like it should have been in the game in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but can that be? Can't that also be a criticism against the DLC? in
Oh,
that you
yes,
have to-
absolutely.
You have to pay
But-
for it in order to get the full experience of the story.
Absolutely. On that I agree. But I'm talking strictly quality, like of the downloadable content.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of weird because especially in games that have a story, like if you're playing a fighting game or a racing game and you just get more tracks and more characters, like okay, like that's pretty straightforward. But if you're dealing with stuff that adds more story content, it's always a little bit more iffy because you're wondering like, should this have been in the game to begin with, and all this other stuff. It's
But sometimes there are legitimate reasons why it's not in the game to begin with, like the one that immediately comes to mind is L.A. Noire. L.A. Noire was too big
Yeah.
for its disc capacity.
Isn't it 3 discs on Xbox?
I think it's like 3 discs on Xbox, yes. And it's still a single Blu-ray disc on the PlayStation 3, but even then, it filled up the Blu-ray disc. And the DLC was the cases they couldn't fit into the game.
did you have to pay for them though?
I don't know. I never got L.A. Noire Day 1.
Okay.
The only thing that always bugs me about DLC is that I always have to keep it on my hard drive, or I have to keep re-downloading it every time I want to like use it. Like with Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, if I combined like all the Zaid, the Shadow Broker, all the Mass Effect 3 DLC, that takes up so much space on my hard drive that like I can't really install any other games, or I can't download other DLC from other games, and then I have to keep deleting everything every now and then.
It is a dedicated Mass Effect machine.
It's getting annoying.
Yeah.
It's getting annoying at this point.
Especially as DLC gets more larger and larger too, because it's only going to go up in size as games get bigger and bigger.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why the new standard for consoles is like terabyte hard drives and 2 terabyte at some
at this point, it hardly matters whether a game has DLC anymore, though, because console games just sort of install themselves full stop now.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I can't believe I have to ask this, but my virus protection started to update itself, and my video lagged to hell. What time are we at?
Oh shit! It's our anniversary. 14:30.
Oh, yeah, you see, I'm a whole minute behind.
what exactly
Oh,
is
man. That's horrible.
You're missing the jellyfish.
Yeah, I'm back to the. I'm at the Emporium. The Hanar. This is another example of an alien species that's just ridiculously different from humans, and I love it. And it's really too bad that the Hanar don't get, more screen time. But I can sort of understand why, because they're a hard species to do anything of significance with.
Okay, but here's the question. Like, we don't know anything about alien life at the moment. Like, it's I firmly believe that the universe is so big that there's got to be aliens out there, but we don't know anything about them at the moment. With that said, there's a lot of the times it's just like there's no reason that aliens have to look like humans, but at the same time, wouldn't it be more likely that life would evolve on planets similar to Earth?
Similar to Earth doesn't necessarily mean life similar to the life on Earth, though, is the thing.
Yeah, but who says? But what that says, maybe we'll have a race of sentient dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, that
who
would
says
be
that it has to be
that would
jellyfish
be the Turians.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Also, the Krogan, who are kind of dinosaur-like. We're looking at a statue of one right now, although the texture kind of sucks. The Krogan race...
No, just wait half a second, it'll be there.
The Krogan race is very plot important, especially in Mass Effect 3, where, the first major story arc has to do with resolving the story element that we're about to be introduced to by Avina here. The short version is, the Krogan are a fast-breeding race of really aggressive lizard people. They nuked their planet to hell and were basically living in the Fallout universe when the Solarians needed an army to drive back the bug monsters from Starship Trooper. Well, they uplifted the Krogan and taught them how to fight and use technology in exchange for the Krogan fighting the Rachni to basically extinction. However, the Krogan turned out to be too aggressive, and they bred too goddamn fast. Once they were off their nuked-out planet, well, they started to breed too fast for one planet to contain them, and they started violently taking over other alien races' worlds. And that led to another war, which the Turians put an end to.
Damn it, Krogan.
The thing about that, though, is that in order to stop the Krogan without, driving them to extinction too, the Solarians invented a genetic disease called the Genophage, which all but completely sterilized the Krogan to a point where only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies is viable.
Isn't that incredibly unethical?
Oh yeah.
Though?
Yeah.
Oh, very.
That's basically the moral struggle of the whole goddamn Genophage thing. Now, in Mass Effect 1, you only really get exposed to the Genophage problem through Rex himself when you talk to him, and one particular mission during the main plot that deals with it. But you get a more involved look at the different forces at play during 2 and especially 3. Of course, nothing encourages the races of the galaxy to undo the incredibly immoral sterility plague they forced on other species, like a giant fleet of robotic cuttlefish swooping in from outside the galaxy to eradicate all organic life everywhere.
Oh shit, we kind of need these people.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. And the first quarter or so of Mass Effect 3 is curing the Genophage or not, depending on how you play it.
Or just pretending we did.
Yeah. Actually, the Genophage is one. The whole Genophage scenario in Mass Effect 3 is one of the few cases where your choices in Mass Effects 1 and 2 actually do come up in a pretty significant way. So I like that part of the story. It was pretty well done.
Oh yeah, the Krogan stuff in 3 was awesome. That was the best part of the game.
What about the ending? Isn't that surely the best part of the game?
It was
We'll
something.
get to that like
Okay,
3
I want to
years from
say
now.
at this point in the playthrough, since we're early on and it doesn't necessarily spoil anything, the original planned ending for Mass Effect 3 was very different than what we got, and that's part of the reason a lot of people don't like it. Initially, and this was foreshadowed in 2, Drew Karpyshyn's planned ending involved, if I remember correctly, the galaxy's general use of Element Zero was causing an environmental hazard of sorts, in that it produced dark energy in such quantities that it actually negatively impacted the lifespan of stars. Now, if the lifespan of stars is being negatively impacted, that effectively shortens the lifespan of the entire galaxy. And the Reapers in this planned ending were in fact trying to solve this very problem, which was their main reason for.
By killing everyone.
No, from what I understand, like harvesting the galaxy was, delaying the problem, but they were also trying to find a permanent solution. I don't have any idea. I don't know the specifics of this. This was an ending scenario that never came to fruition. There were a couple lines in it that hinted at it in Mass Effect 2, and one mission in particular that had to do with a dying star. But those plot threads are just sort of hanging there now, unused. And it's kind of awkward because they were, Mass Effect 2 called attention to this shit, and nothing was ever done with it. Maybe it'll come up in Mass Effect Andromeda, I don't know.
Is that supposed to be like a sequel to 3, or is it like a prequel, midquel kind of
Mass
deal?
Effect Andromeda is a sequel set in the quite a lot distant future from Mass Effect 3,
Okay.
in the galaxy next door. As of right now in the Mass Effect universe, the species of Citadel space can only explore Citadel space. By the time Mass Effect Andromeda happens, they've made it to the galaxy over yonder, which is a pretty goddamn big achievement.
Andromeda's pretty
because-
far away, yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting from a lore perspective, because that means the galaxy has advanced a lot farther than the Reapers ever intended it to. But it's also kind of cheap, because by relocating the entire story to the Andromeda galaxy, Mass Effect Andromeda essentially sidesteps ever having to show any significant choices that you ever made in the trilogy ever again.
Is that their attempt of fresh start? So that people
Yeah,
can
probably.
just jump into it?
Not necessarily retconning anything, but, distancing itself enough from Mass Effect history that it doesn't have to account for the variables
So
anymore.
new players don't have so much baggage.
Yeah.
Can you even import your saves into Andromeda, or do we not know that yet?
It's almost certain that you can, but whether or not it's... to what extent it will affect things, we won't know. Like in Dragon Age 2, even though you were in a different location than Dragon Age Origins, some of your choices still had an impact. It was a very small impact. It was just sort of a token impact that seemed to exist just for the sake of having someone who was in the game to say, hey, we remember your choices, your save import was totally worthwhile, but it was there.
Okay.
I just like the way KOTOR 2 handled it. They were just like, hey, so you remember that guy, Darth Revan? He was a real prick,
Revan
huh?
was a-
No, she
Revan
was a real prick.
girl, you asshole. Yeah, I remember that conversation. Like, the first person you're allowed to talk to in that game, he assumes Revan is a guy, and you have the option to correct him.
No. How long have you been in there? Revan was a girl, remember? Oh, right. I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah.
Oops.
Diplomatic advisory
Yeah.
warning. Smoking is bad for your health.
What I really liked was how Baldur's Gate 2 handled it, though. There was no save imports whatsoever except for importing your character and their stats. So characters who might have, in my case, walked face first into a disintegration trap and gotten perma-killed were right there with you in the opening dungeon.
Yeah, but that ruins your immersion, man. It's not a real story. You need to have total immersion, permadeath, restart that chapter all over again if Olivia dies.
Aliens
No,
exist.
because you see, here's the thing. Baldur's Gate does have permadeath. if your character dies, normally they have a skull icon in your party menu, and you can take them to a priest and have them resurrected. If they walk into a disintegration trap, their body is destroyed, and you can never get them back ever.
Someone find the Dragon Balls.
Bullshit. Mario can survive dark matter.
Wait, Baldur's Gate is based off of Dungeons and Dragons logic, though. Can't anybody cast True Resurrection in that universe? Come on.
I don't think that the ability to resurrect a player was. I don't think resurrecting a character whose body was completely destroyed was an option in Second Edition.
Second Edition. Okay, third. Okay.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate is based on Second Edition.
Okay.
It wasn't. It wasn't until Icewind Dale 2 and other games that they moved on to Third Edition and beyond.